Catflap Chats. We are back this week. Pleased to bring you someone a bit different, actually. So we got actor, presenter, but most of you would know him as the lean student chef, Mr. Rob Eades. I hope I've said that right. Correct me if I haven't.
Yeah.
And how are you, pal?
Yeah, pretty much spot on. Yeah, I'm great. I have been working hard during lockdown, I suppose, like a lot of people have, to shift the way I'm working or what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all looking good. How are you?
Very well, thanks, mate. I was just saying then, obviously moved house, so I've taken a bit of time off work, but yeah, working from home, I suppose. I work for radio stations, so we can work remotely and still get the job done, just probably a bit less formal, which is always nice. But yeah, less about me, more about you. What does lockdown look like then for yourself? I suppose, actually, to start with, for people who don't know your work and what you kind of do, give people a bit of a brief background on what it is you do now, and then we can, I suppose, work our way back in how it all started.
Yeah, so the Instagram page, which started off as Lean Student Chef, it's still kind of the Lean Student Chef brand, but my handle is now just Rob_Eades, because what I do varies quite a lot compared to when I started it. But the whole ethos is basically making a healthy lifestyle seem easy and achievable. Not but easy and achievable. So the recipes will cost less than £2 to make. Apart from I'm doing a few little specials every now and again. The workouts are all 20-minute home workouts that don't need any equipment. And it's essentially trying to just debunk all of the myths and all of the complication behind keeping yourself fit and healthy without needing to be too extreme.
Yeah, I suppose I'm a bit older than you now, but when I was in uni, it was always a case of, oh, it's cheap, I'll buy that. It's cheap, I'll buy that. And there's always an argument, I suppose, around it costs more to be healthier or costs more to eat healthier. And how have you found sort of people's reaction to what you're doing, and what sort of questions you get asked around that, whether or not it's actually sustainable for someone in the real world and not just for Instagram?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because I think, like you say, like there is this whole sort of precept of it being expensive to eat healthily, and I think a huge part of that is amplified by fast food, like cheaper food sort of sellers making it out like they are incredibly cheap and everything else is really expensive. But in terms of my recipes, I've probably done hundreds and hundreds of recipes for less than £2 a portion. And when you actually break it down, you realize that doing a recipe for less than £2 a portion isn't actually that hard. And you can eat most things. Like there's only certain, like steak, I don't cook very often because it's a tiny bit expensive. But even like prawns, obviously chicken, like it's not like you have to go without to try and keep that food in a budget. So yeah, I mean, people at first it was a bit like, oh wow, that seems a bit extreme, blah blah blah. But then there's people doing it for cheaper than I am as well, and it's really not too hard.
I saw that. Was there what someone did a £1 meal or something like that?
Yeah, Miguel Barkley. Yeah, he's a friend of mine. His sort of book franchise are all £1 meals. So he does like £1 family meals, £1 vegan and vegetarian meals, £1 I should really know meals. But yeah. His is slightly different in that his is more like just all kinds of food. There's no real sort of focus on the slightly healthier aspect, which is what mine is more about. And mine's more about sort of fueling that healthy lifestyle. His is more about just food. He just loves food.
Class. How did you get into it then? So tell us a bit of the backstory. What were you like as a kid sort of growing up, and what were you into, and then how did you develop that cooking background?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I was never really into cooking at all when I was younger. I always played a lot of rugby. And then when I was 18, obviously finished school, and then I wanted to have a year out. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I knew I wanted to go to uni sort of after that year. So I was working for a bit in London doing working for an events management agency, which was actually really fun.
Is that where you're from then?
Yeah, I'm from Southeast, so Tunbridge Wells.
Okay,
I grew up in Sevenoaks, so Kent. And I was doing this job, and then a mate of mine went out and did a ski season in the Alps, and I thought I'd just fly out at the end of December to to see if I could find a job there. See if I could find a bar job was my main sort of, hopefully there'll be a bar job.
Yeah.
Easy as pie. Lovely stuff. Stay there for 5 months to live in the dream. And then I got there, and I was sleeping on the floor of his bunk bed, single room.
Yeah.
So there were basically 3 of us in like what was effectively a prison cell. Not that I know what that's like, but I'd imagine it's similar. And
I'll tell you after.
I didn't have a ski pass. Yeah, exactly. Maybe I'll find out one day, who knows. Yeah, I didn't have a ski pass or anything, and I was looking for a job. Went around all the bars, didn't have any luck. I couldn't find anything. It was pretty depressing. I obviously bought my flights, and then I was like, right, I'm gonna have to just go home, really. And then about 7 days in, so this chef left for like a gourmet 12-man chalet, and the manager went around the resort basically looking for someone to take her job. So it was like 7:30 a.m. I'm asleep in a sleeping bag on a hard floor, and she comes in. She's like, apparently you're looking for a job. And I was like, yeah, I am. What's the job? And she's like, oh, our chef's just left. So could you come and chef in our chalet? And I was like, yeah,
sure.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, couldn't cook. And then she was like, okay, great. Should we go for a walk and I'll explain everything? I'm obviously there in my boxers. Like 18-year-old, literally a child.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, of course. She must have been so desperate. And anyway, we went for like a brief walk. And she said, yeah, so it's a 12-man chalet. You'd be doing 3 courses every evening, afternoon cake, and then obviously breakfast. So how does that sound? I was like, yeah, sounds all right. And then she was like, so what sort of experience have you got? And I was like, well, my stepmom had a catering company, like a sort of gourmet catering company. So I used to cook with her loads. And she was like, oh, okay, great. What kind of stuff? And I was like, oh, just like for like wedding food and stuff like that. She didn't have a catering company. I've never worked for a catering company. And I was like, yeah, just like weddings and stuff like that. Like just, like just quite nice, really. And she was like, oh, okay, cool. Sounds good. I was like, yeah. Anyway, and then she was like, could we do a test run this evening? And I said, yeah, sounds good. Will you be there? And she was like, yeah, I'll help you. I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, sounds good. So that evening she does everything, and it's like it was nice food, 3 courses for 12 people by yourself. I'll be by myself after I'd done that with her, so I didn't even have like a sous chef or anything. Which is good. They would have found me out.
100%. What did you cook then for that first night?
Do you know what? The first one, I think it was confit of duck with like braised cabbage and like I was like potato dauphinoise or something. It was it was enough to be like, oh, I can do that. It's not actually that complicated, that dish, but it was enough to be like, oh, if I was by myself, I'm not sure I'll be able to do this. Yeah. So she did everything that night. I chopped up the potatoes. I vividly remember chopping the potatoes, and it took me absolutely ages. And it went really well, unsurprisingly. And she was like, yeah, I thought that went great. She was South African, so I was going to do South African at the start, but I haven't practiced it enough to do it live. And she said, yeah, that was great.
There we are.
How did you find it? Oh, there it is. Like, how did you find it? And I was like, yeah, great, thanks. She was like, okay, cool. Can you start tomorrow? I was like, yep, cool. See you in the morning. She was like, well, no, I won't be here, but yeah, be here at 7 a.m. to do breakfast. So I was like, yeah, cool, sounds good. Great. And then like left that chalet with a feeling of, oh my God, I'm just, when your life's falling off a cliff and it's like, I'm gonna get found out. This is terrible. I can't believe what I've done. And all sorts of things. Like I'm probably gonna get arrested because it can't be legal what I've done.
Is it
here.
fraud?
I'm a scam. Yeah, literally. Anyway, so I get up and do breakfast. The breakfast went okay. I mean, it wasn't the best breakfast, but it's cooked breakfast. It's not too complicated. And then just got to work prepping for dinner for that night. I did something like chicken breasts. This is just such a basic thought. I was like, what was in the fridge? There were loads of chicken breasts. There was like bacon. And there was, Boursin cheese, the sort of herby cheese.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's lovely. Garlicky. Yeah,
delicious. Yeah. I was like, well, if I just stuff that in the chicken, that would look like I've made some nice sort of stuffing mix.
Wrap it in bacon.
And then wrap it in bacon. Yeah, classic. The bacon actually made the chicken look quite pink, so it looks horrendous. And I put it in for like 45 minutes, chicken breast. So it was so dry.
Yeah.
And even like, no matter how much Boursin I stuffed in there, I couldn't save it. So I literally took it out. I was serving it. I tried it. I think the starter I did like a soup, so it went okay. And that was just off a YouTube recipe or a Google recipe. Everything was just YouTube and Google. And anyway, so the first night, I vividly remember trying this chicken before I was about to serve it up, and that was my first big like, I'm so screwed here. I'm so screwed. I don't know what I'm doing. There's people that have paid probably a few grand each to be here for the week. Anyway, like luckily that first week, they're all my sort of age now. So 26, 25, 26, they worked in the city. They're all pretty gone by the time we got to dinner time. So they wolfed it down without much of a fuss. A couple of people left quite a lot, but that was fine. That was much better than I anticipated. I actually ordered a pizza because I was like, I'm not eating this. And then the second day was a tiny bit easier, but I broke my dishwasher on that first night. So I was just literally cooking and cleaning up by myself for 12 people. I literally called my dad on the second day, had a full-on breakdown, like tears. I was like, I can't do this. I need to come home. And he was like, well, what are you going to do if you come home? And I was like, I just don't know. I don't want to come home either. Anyway, and I stayed and like slowly but surely started to get the hang of cooking, but it was very much in at the deep end without any kind of flotation device.
That's unbelievable, mate.
And that's how I learned to cook, basically.
That's class. And so when did you start the page then? Did you do banking originally?
So I went to uni. I went to Nottingham, did a business degree.
Trent Army, was it?
And normal proper Nottingham. Yeah. I say with great pride. And we won varsity a couple of times as well, which is nice. And so I did a business degree, and then I was playing a lot of rugby at uni, and then got injured a couple of times in my third year. Played a bit less rugby. Our team wasn't quite as good. I was getting a bit sort of not sure really what I wanted to do. And then I did an internship at the end of my second year at RBS in investment banking, mergers and acquisitions, and then got offered a job. So that was sort of like, right, that's what I'm going to do then. And then during the summer after I'd finished uni, I was traveling in South America, as you do, classic.
Nice.
And I had a bit of I'm going to do banking. Like I just don't want to do that for the rest of my life. I don't want to do it for any of my life, really. So I decided I was going to go to drama school. So I called my dad. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to drama school. And to be fair, he was really supportive. He was like, well, look, you've got a degree. Like, if that's what you want to do, as long as you pay for it, you can go and do whatever you want. And I'd had a couple of businesses at uni. So I was lucky to be in a position where I was like, you know what? Yeah, that's what I really want to do. So I'm just going to take it on and do it. Went to drama school. And then when I was at drama school was when I started my Instagram. So I was living in London with a friend. We were training together. I was cooking for both of us, and it originally started as we'd go to Tesco at like 3 or 3:30 when the reduced food comes out. Because we were both pretty broke. I was living at his parents' house because I couldn't afford to rent anywhere. So I was cooking for both of us with reduced food. So the original idea was creating recipes for under £2, but using all this food that you can get in reduced. Which very quickly I realised wasn't really scalable because reduced is different in every single supermarket every single day. So
there could be nothing left.
No help. It's literally the only person that benefits is me. So it started to grow a tiny bit, and then obviously shifted the idea to just be anything from any supermarket for less than £2 a portion, and then it kind of just grew and grew and grew. Particularly early on, I mean, I put a lot of work into it. I won't lie. Like I did a lot of engagement with other pages, a lot of like trying to do sort of collaborations and that kind of stuff. Funnily enough, at the same time as Miguel Barclay was doing £1 meals, which was growing really fast, we chatted quite a lot. Mob Kitchen was growing. A guy called Ben Liebus, who I've sort of known for years from doing that as well. His page, they're massive now. They've done really well. It was all sort of, we were all doing it at a similar time. And from there the page kind of grew and adapted, and then like I did a couple of presenting jobs. I just did something for BBC. And that's kind of why I've shifted away from the lean student chef side, because obviously I started it when I was still a student. Well, I was a drama school student anyway. I was kind of a post-grad already, but still. So that's kind of a brief story of it.
How did you, I suppose, again, as with the chalet chef job, winging it, Were
Yeah.
you winging the Instagram page as well from the beginning? You know, did you? I suppose again, I'm a bit older, so you know, we didn't have Instagram or anything when I was coming through from uni. But how did you grow that page? Was it just consistency and just keep churning out the recipes and hashtags and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, exactly. I'm still winging it, just to make that clear. Like
I mean, I'm
that's
winging
not
this.
changed.
I'm winging
Yeah,
this.
completely.
Absolutely, pal. Don't worry.
Yeah, I kind of feel like unless you feel like you're winging it, then you're getting a bit settled, and you probably need to move on to something else.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're too comfortable.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I was lucky in that I had a friend called Annie, whose Instagram is now Annie Openshaw. She was a really good friend at uni, and she was going out with my housemate, a guy called Elliot Burton, who's now got a massive Instagram, Elliot B Fit, and Annie's is, I think it's Annie Openshaw. I'm almost certain, but she had a page when we were finishing uni called Breakfast and Brunch,
Okay.
which was starting to grow, and her food photography was incredible. Like she was so much better at it than I am. And I remember speaking to her when I was living with my mate Harvey in London, and I was like, "Oh, I'm kind of thinking of starting an Instagram. Like, do you think I should do it, or like this is the concept, blah blah blah." And I was lucky; she gave me a few tips. I make sure you've got loads of recipes stored up, so that when you start, you can post consistently. You're not thinking, "Oh my god, I need to cook today, I need to cook today," but you've got a bit of a bank. And then just try and engage with as many pages as you can, and just make sure that all the content you're creating is stuff that people would like, rather than just content for the sake of it.
Yeah.
So I was quite lucky to have her advice at the start. And that sort of set me off on the right path, I suppose.
And on that engagement, then, what does that entail for you? Was that like just commenting on other people's stuff or sharing yours?
Yeah. So I was commenting on loads of people's stuff, being like, "Oh, I'd love a look at that," whatever it may be. If you ever want any more recipes, feel free to check my page out. But I'd spend hours doing it, like hours. It's, I think, unless you kind of get lucky, or you are particularly incredible, which I wouldn't profess to be. You just need to put the work in, unfortunately. Same as anything, really. Same as sport. Same with business. It's just, no matter how good you are, unless you're, I mean, even Michael Jordan worked staggeringly hard, trained staggeringly hard, even though he's probably the most gifted ever. But unfortunately, if you're going to get anywhere, you need to kind of put the work in. So yeah, I'd spent hours commenting, creating content. I was lucky because I was a student, so I had time.
Yeah.
If I was starting it now, there's no way I could get it to the level it is, or even just think about it.
What sort of student
and a lot
were
of people kind of
What sort of student were you in terms of out on the beers with rugby lads, or a bit more?
I drank a lot at uni. I probably drank quite a lot at drama school, to be fair. But then I don't know. I've always been sort of relatively balanced. So like I was training hard. I was going to the gym a lot, and I can train when I'm hungover, and that kind of changes the game a little bit in terms of ability to stick with it.
A hybrid.
I'm not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Some sort of iRobot machine. No, I wasn't at all. But yeah, so that's changed now. I mean, I don't drink during the week and stuff. Obviously, at uni, like just out most nights, really, which is great. But I also did work hard. Like I worked hard, trained a lot. Just tried to sort of find that balance, really. Whether I got it right or not is a different question. But
well, you seem to be enjoying life now. So who's to say it was right or wrong? It's the way it should be, mate.
Exactly.
You've got to.
It's the way it turned out.
That's what uni's there for, I suppose. It's an education, but also you learn about life, I suppose, is the biggest thing I would take away from uni.
Massively. I think my biggest takeaway from uni was I went to a grammar school in Kent, which is like a great school, and we were obviously always encouraged. Like, I feel like a grammar school is in between like sort of private schools and just like normal sort of comps.
Yeah.
So I was very lucky to go to grammar school, but it was always very like, do really well in your exams, go to uni, get a really good degree. And the majority of my friends, and this isn't me saying there's anything wrong with that at all. Majority of my friends work for Deloitte or BP or whatever it may be, and they all have like really, really good jobs. They've all done really well, and that was sort of the path that we were sort of gearing towards. And then when I went to uni, like I met a few friends who I didn't really have that much of an entrepreneurial streak as of yet. I mean, like I would be the kid at school selling cookies on the playground and stuff like that for sure, but I'd never really done anything that was like a proper business. And then when I got to uni, like a really good example was the friend I was talking about that I was staying with when I started the Instagram. Like he's such a like doer, and I met so many people like that were like, well, if you've got the idea, just go for it.
Yeah.
And I hadn't really experienced that before. And I think a part of that was like, a lot of those people went to like really good private schools, and it was like, well, if you've got a great idea, just borrow a little bit of money and give it a go.
Yeah.
Which wasn't really quite as much of an option for me and most of my mates and stuff when we were at school.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then I started like just trying things. So at uni, like I had a couple of nights, as you do, and then like I had a letting agent that I started with a friend. What else did we do? We were doing like social media ads for wedding venues around Nottingham, which kind of turned into a digital marketing agency that I had, that I literally just left. And yeah, like I suddenly started just trying all these things that I wanted to do, and I'm still very much like that in terms of like, if I have an idea now, I like it. I guess it kind of almost stems back to that when that manager came in and said like, we need a chef, and I was like, yeah, go on then. And to date, I haven't been stung too hard by doing that. I have had a lot of occasions where I've thought I'm well out of my depth and I wish I hadn't said yes, but I've never not learned something from saying yes and then trying to deal with the consequences.
Yeah, of course.
There may come a day where I do say yes and it has disastrous circumstances. So touch wood, that doesn't happen. But yeah, that's kind of.
As I say, you're more likely to regret not saying yes than actually saying yes and having to deal with it. By not saying yes and then not knowing what might have happened, that probably kills you and eats you more inside than trying it and failing.
Yeah, and I think also the more you try and fail, the more you realise that you don't really ever lose anything.
Oh yeah, of course.
So if things go wrong, the only thing you really lose is like knowing that that's not going to work, which is a shame. But at least you tried. I feel like.
I think too many people are worried about what others think, and start a podcast or start an Instagram or posting this or posting that using hashtags. People are so worried about what others think and their input, and actually, fuck them. Who cares? Like, if it makes you happy and it doesn't harm anyone else, then do it. Like, why not?
Yeah, completely. And it is a tricky one because there's no two ways about it. Like, I got so much chat from my mates. Like, imagine, like, most of my mates were rugby boys, really, from uni. All my mates from school were kind of like, laddie, like, we all love sport, we all love beers, like, so like, there's me starting this little like cookery Instagram, and understandably getting loads of chat, and that's fine. And at the time, it's like, oh, I wish they wouldn't be so nasty to me about it. as in your head you are, but externally you're like, oh, I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less what you think. But then with anything, like once you do something and you stick at it, like if I'd have become a ballet dancer, I would have got a lot of chat. But if I'd have become a really successful ballet dancer, my friends would all look at me now and be like, fair play. Like he did what he wanted to do, and like it's worked out. If it doesn't work out is when you probably get more shit. But even then, if it doesn't work out, your mates would always turn around and be like, yeah, it sounds like you really wanted to do that, and like good for you for giving it a go. Exactly. As much as they'll put you down when you're trying to do it.
Yeah, of course. These though, some of them, if they're not taking a piss at you, it's not a normal friendship.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I'd start to get worried about them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. And on that front, then, with obviously not living your life on social media as such, but you're out there every day, 2, 3, 4 times a day with loads of content just on that page. Do you find that you would ever get a lot of stick from randomers and people putting their 2 pence in and giving you shit at all?
Yeah, sometimes. To be honest, I've been quite lucky that I haven't got a lot, but I think that's also because my page isn't enormous. I've got like 55,000 followers, but I think once you get up to like a certain level, it's inevitable because there's 1 in a million people is an arsehole. So if you've got 10 million followers, you've got 10 arseholes in your case, basically. Yeah. Probably more than that. It's probably 1 in 20. Yeah. But I'm probably one of them as well, to be honest, but I don't even know. But yeah, I mean, you get it. A couple of things that are more like mainstream, especially I had a couple of Daily Mail articles when I was a bit younger. And you get it's guaranteed trolling on the Daily Mail article. But yeah, I haven't had it too bad really. But there is a part of it which is like with like the constant nature of it, which I know this sounds so like, well, it's not that bad because it's not like, but you do need to keep producing content. Like no matter what you're doing in life, like you can have a week off work. Like I can be like, oh, I've got a bit of a week off now, but I still need to do 4 posts that week. I still need to do 10, 15 stories a day. it's yeah. I mean, like anything, like it's great. Don't get me wrong, but obviously there's always going to be things that you could pick holes in and think, oh, I shouldn't have to do that today, for example.
I completely get where you're coming from there. Even with this now, I know this isn't as big as your page, but I've had the week off work this week, and I've still had to make audiograms, make content, create pictures, link stuff,
Yeah,
and post it. Like, I think other people are like, "Fuck, you're gonna have a day off," and I'm like, "Well, no, because you just need
yeah.
because it'll fall faster than it grows."
That's always the worry. And funnily enough, I feel like if I did have like a month off and come back, the response would probably be great. People were like, "Oh, great, you're back. Hope you had a great month." But the fear of like losing the momentum you spent so long building
Yeah,
is probably too great to really even take that risk.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
which is yeah, but then it also, like, there's no two ways about it. Like I do enjoy what I do most
Yeah,
of the time. And no matter what you do, I could be playing professional rugby, I could be a professional actor acting in the series regularly. There'd always be days where I think, I really shouldn't have to do that today. It's just human nature. But I definitely can't complain. Like, just cook nice food and take photos of it and do 20-minute workouts. It's not too bad, really, is it?
ripped up for summer, mate. On like Daily Mail articles, a lot of what we all the guests I speak to, I really try and get like understand that mindset, because I feel that not enough people talk about it. And you said that your mates ribbing you and all that sort of stuff. Not a lot of people talk about actually how it makes them feel or how they deal with things like that. So the more people that do talk about it, the better. Would you read the comments, or would you read the negative reviews or the negative press? And if so, did it get to you, and did you respond to it?
Short answer, yeah. Didn't respond to it, never. I never really would. But like, it's human nature, I think, to see things and be like, oh, that's a bit of shit, or that's a bit of shit. But I think also, the more it happens, the less it bothers you, I think,
Yeah,
really. So quite a big thing for me as well has been like, because I'm an actor, so I audition for so many things, and like
yeah,
the odd thing you get, and it's the best feeling in the world. But like, being an actor is like going to job interviews when there's 10,000 people applying every single
yeah,
job. So like, the amount of times I've had an audition, I've been like, that was so good, get in on it so well, and I never had another thing. It's actually been a really good learning curve for me in life.
yeah.
I mean, it's the same. I've just, well, as of a year ago, started a new business called Flarebox, which is a video sharing platform for talent discovery in the entertainment
Okay.
industry. And it's a similar thing with investors. Like, you talk to venture capitalists, you talk to angels, and like, most of the time they say no, and every
Yeah,
now and again it makes it all more special when someone is interested in what you're doing,
yeah,
or what you're saying. So I guess, as much as it's hard to sort of shake that short-term natural reaction to things, which is always going to be like, oh, that hurt, or that stung, or whatever, once you start to slowly get over that, I think everything you see just starts to make you a bit more driven to do it a bit better next time, and try and sort of prove them wrong, I guess.
I suppose that sort of resilience that you've built up over the years, then, from setbacks. And one of my other mates is an actor, and again, millions of auditions, and then it just takes that one to get your break, I suppose. But the build up
Yeah.
probably would have, I assume, would have affected you a lot worse in the beginning than it does nowadays. I don't think
Yeah,
enough people have that
100%.
resilience.
Yeah, and I also, like, I'm very lucky that like my day job as such is pretty cool. Like, I'm pretty happy doing what I'm doing. So
Yeah, yeah,
if I have a big acting audition and I don't get it, I don't think like, oh, I've got to go back to working in the pub, which I hate. Or I mean, I'm sure people working in the pub that enjoy it, but I'm not belittling working in the pub.
no,
That's
I
just
know
an
what you
example
mean.
that's sprang to mind.
Yeah,
And yeah, I'm lucky in that. Yeah, and it takes a lot of pressure off me for auditions and things like that, because I know that I'm not going back to something I hate, and it's not going to completely change my life if I do get the
yeah.
part, unless it's staggeringly huge. But then then you get your problems of your life being changed to the point where you don't ever get any peace. So, yeah.
Do you get recognised in the street as you're walking around?
Around London a bit. I think because you post from, like, I was at my location where I'm posting from, I think that sort of has impacted who's followed me a bit. So like, every now and again, but like, normally it would just be like chat. Like, I was at the Sevens last year, London's Twickenham
Yeah,
Sevens,
yeah, yeah.
and I was with all my mates. Oh, so painful. And this bloke goes, that's a lean junior chef, isn't it? like with a group of mates, and I was like, you all right? Obviously the boys like, get it. And then he goes, you're a lot shorter than you look on Instagram. I was like, thanks, man. Cheers.
You can't even give him any shit back either, because there's
obviously
like
all the boys are like, hey. Most of them are just shorter than me anyway, so I'm like, but yeah.
I love stuff like that. It's funny.
Right.
I know.
Yeah.
You've got to laugh at it. You can't even kick off.
Exactly. I was like, to be honest, you mugged me there. So fair play. That was a good chat.
Done me. High five. I always, if someone does me like that, I always give it the high five, and they come in for it, and you pull away. You just go, fuck off.
Yeah. There you go.
Who's the winner now? Talk to me about the sort of fitness side of it then, in terms of, obviously you got your recipes, and that's how it kind of started out, and then you've brought in these 20-minute workouts. What can people expect if they haven't watched them? What can they expect from them?
Yeah, so I mean, they've been a revelation, really, particularly during lockdown. So like, I always put a bit of workout content on. I just started about a year ago, started doing any place workouts. I call them #any place workouts, that you can do any place without any equipment. And they weren't necessarily 20 minutes at first. They were just kind of a bit varied and a bit. And I was still trying to find what exactly I could do differently to what other people were doing. And then I started cutting my workouts down to about 20 minutes because of time. And I thought, like, if I can just smash something out really quickly, then ideal. And they started being received really well. And my girlfriend was doing the same on her page, which is at Natalie Balut, spelled ball out. And then we went into lockdown, and we happened to be at my mum's because we were due to visit that weekend. So we went up on the Wednesday, I think, and they announced lockdown on the Thursday or Friday. So we were up there. And both of us had, like, in terms of like brand deals and work coming up on Instagram, like everything just stopped. It's the same as happened for everyone. Everything stopped. So we sort of stopped and thought, what can we do differently? Like, how can we actually respond to this? What have we got that's going for us right now? And like, there's no two ways about it. I mean, I do a lot of cooking and I do a lot of home workouts. Like, that's basically my job. And suddenly the whole world is cooking and doing home workouts. And it's the same with Natalie. Like, we cook a lot together. I post the food on my page. It isn't really about food, but she helps me so much with a lot of the recipes I do. And we enjoy cooking together. And so we thought, well, let's try and create some sort of fitness plan that people can do from home without any equipment, including like easy food you can cook at home. And then created, and funny enough, an old business partner of mine had bought the homefitnessplan.com about 2 years ago, sort of for us to use one day. And it was in a sort of very different iteration of an idea then. But yeah, and I thought, you know what, we've got that page. Let's just build something. Let's just do it. So we spent the next week like frantically recording, editing, writing out all these recipes, cooking most of the recipes. Natalie's really good at InDesign. She pieced the whole thing together. And then, about a week later, we had 45 recipes, a whole month of interactive video workouts that we were literally uploading in the minutes up to the launch, so we could attach them to PDF and send. Like, the whole thing was very, just get it done as fast as we can. And launched it, and it went out like incredibly. Like, it was so well received. So many people joined the plan. Started month 1, then we got to work on month 2. Then got to work on month 3, and we're just about to launch month 4 on Monday, which we're actually going to do slightly differently. So we're not like putting it all together editing. We're just going to do it for charities, so people can just get month 4 on the private IGTV. So basically, if you've either donated to the charity or you're in the home fitness plan, then you can do month 4. Which is quite a nice thing for us to do. Just because it's and we're not 100%, but it'll be something Black Lives Matter related in terms of like probably more grassroots in terms of charities that are actually trying to give people that have less opportunities, particularly young people, more opportunities, which we've been lucky to have. So I feel like more people should get. So that's launching on Monday, and then we're going to do probably like an 8-week challenge. But it's mad. It's like this family of 400 or so people that are constantly engaged, interacting, doing all the workouts. We do 2 live workouts a week, which we love because everyone lets us know how they're doing, their progress. And it's been nice doing it together because Natalie will do like slightly less sort of extreme versions of each workout, and I'll do the sort of slightly harder exercises, and we'll just sort of mix up the times. Yeah, exactly, typical. And every now and again I'll be like, oh, I'm a bit injured, and that's like, oh well, you're gonna have to do the hard one still. No, but she has covered me a couple of times, but yeah, and yeah, that kind of just exploded really. And funnily enough, I think that has also triggered a lot more brands that kind of want to work with us, because that sort of loyal, engaged community, I think, speaks volumes. Yeah,
I think there's something there around. And I know fucking nothing, mate, but I think there's something there around.
Yeah, me too. Don't worry.
That micro influencer, but also the fact that you've got couples there as well. So it caters for, your recipes can cater for everyone, but a girl may be more aligned to following a girl on Instagram who does that than a guy. So the fact you've got couples as well probably opens up a new market to people who may not have interacted with just you before.
Yeah, exactly. And before, like, the plan, I always wanted to do a fitness plan. Didn't know exactly how I wanted to do it. I'd done quite a lot of work towards it, but I hadn't really cleaned it up. And like, Natalie was definitely the missing piece in that puzzle, because suddenly it's much more approachable. It's much more doable, actually, because we can mix it up. So it means even if you're a beginner, or if you're like kind of intermediate, even when you start, there's going to be a workout for you in there. It's not just going to be like, oh, this is way too easy, or oh, this is way too hard, I don't want to do it. So it's been great. And just, I mean, speaking on a personal level, like, something that we were able to put our heads together and work really hard on together, and can both be kind of proud of together. And I'm looking forward to expanding and growing together. So it's been great, and it's been a great distraction to everything else that's going on in the world right now.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose it gives you a bit of something to do, keeps your head on, rather than just being bored, kind of sat at home waiting for when auditions are going to come back, or whatever.
Exactly.
That might be.
Yeah.
What did you try any other platforms then when you were starting out, in terms of, obviously Instagram, your main one for the page, but did Twitter or Facebook, did they yield sort of results and audience for you?
I did a tiny bit on Facebook at first. Funnily enough, Mob Kitchen, who I spoke about earlier, they were really big on Facebook. They were doing really well, people sharing recipes, like sort of Yummy and those huge food pages. They were emulating that really well, if not better, I'd say, to be fair. And I tried doing Facebook a bit. Facebook was a lot more geared towards video content then. It still is now, really. Like, you need to have high quality video content to stand out. And I couldn't be more clueless about filming and editing. I mean, I can do a tiny bit now, from kind of being for every now and again a brand will be like, let's do a video recipe, or I'll think I want to do a little series of video recipes. So I've got a little bit better, but at the time, like, photographing food was enough of a challenge for me, really. So yeah, it was always Instagram, and then like I've done a little bit of TikTok, just for fun stuff that like I fancy doing. But yeah, Instagram's always been my main thing. And like I say, like I've always had like the acting, the presenting, other businesses. So like, I think if I was properly full time on the content creation, then I would definitely have a YouTube. I'd definitely be doing a few more things. But I'm pretty happy with, like, I've kind of got, it is growing, steadily growing. Like, I've got my followers that really enjoy my content. I love making the content for them. I do try different things. Like I say, like the Anyplace workouts, like I always try and add in something new every now and again. But yeah, I it's not what I sort of have in my life as like the thing I want to be. Like I don't want to be a massive YouTuber. I don't really want to be like a massive influencer. I just want to have something I really enjoy doing. I really enjoy sharing the content with my followers, and hopefully people enjoy the content as much as I enjoy creating it, really.
Yeah, fair play. So, yeah. I like it. What sort of on the brand side of things, what sort of brands have you worked with, and what would be the dream sort of brand for you to collab with and partner with?
Yeah, I've worked with so many brands now. It's funny, I was doing like a list of this the other day. I've worked with brands from like Gillette to Branston Beans, to like Iceland, Audi, just huge range. Aveeno, so like moisturizer.
My daughter uses that, so I've seen that.
Nike.
One.
Really?
Yeah,
it's great. It's great. It's funny, actually. That conversation that started probably 18 months ago. I got a hold of it. They've got like a shower mist, which you can use. Literally, it just sprays all over you really easily. Sort of like spray on sun cream, but moisturizer. And I'd never used moisturizer ever. I'd never used it before that, and it was so easy. I was like, oh, it's quite funny. So I started doing these stories, being like, "Off shower mist."
Yeah.
And then they were like, "Oh, like we love what you're doing. We love your page. Do you want to work with us?" And I was like, I don't know. Like, it's a moisturizer. I don't know if that's really me. And then like we had a really conversation. They were like, "No, but we're trying to look at more of a holistic view of like health, and like your skin's a tiny part of that." And I was like,
Yeah.
All right, go on then. So yeah, and that was 18 months ago, and I've been working with them ever since. Just signed a new contract. Actually, worked with them for another year, which is great. They've been wonderful. Actually, they've been one of the best brands I work with. Yeah, it's been a massive range. I mean, in an ideal world, like I kind of want to have a supermarket that I work with long term.
Yeah.
Generally, I want to have like a clothing / sports stuff. Because I work with a variety of different ones. I've done stuff with Under Armour, I've done stuff with Nike, done stuff with Gymshark, but I kind of I don't know if I do want just one. I like you working with different ones, but
it's nice when
in the
the
ideal
different
world,
box
like
turns up each month.
yeah, it is. Yeah, like New Balance or whatever. It's funny. I take these things so for granted. And like Bjorn Borg, like I was at my mum's and we just got there, and we suddenly were like, well, we're stuck here for 10 weeks and we've got no clothes here. So like sent a couple of messages out to a couple of like brands that I work with, and obviously you get to know like the PR people and the people you chat to, and suddenly it's like boxes of stuff just coming, and Natty and I take it so for granted, which is really bad. Like we'll be like, oh, God's sake, like, I didn't really want that size or whatever. But then like it's insane to think that you can just be like, oh, could you send me some trainers, and then they'll be like, yeah, all right.
I'm in the wrong job
I'm not
here.
a footballer, like. Yeah. No, it is cool. Like there are definitely benefits.
What's been going on the acting front then? Talk to me about that. What might people have seen you in?
Well, I mean, the acting goes back to probably I started like really trying to pursue it when I was like 14. Did a few like commercials and stuff, a little bit of TV work, and then I did this drama for CBBC. So I was like the lead in that. Well, there were 3 of us actually. The other 2 have gone on to do incredible things, and I'm stuck in a mire.
Mate, you're living your best life, pal.
Yeah. And then obviously I went to uni. I completely stopped acting. And yeah, like I said earlier, when I was away, I thought, you know what, I really, really want to do that. So let's give it a proper go. And then since then, I've been lucky. I've done a few really great shows. I was in Witness for the Prosecution for a little bit in the West End in County Hall, which is amazing. I was actually due to do a show at a new theatre called the Turbine Theatre in Battersea, but that's been postponed till January because of COVID. But yeah, that's yeah. Like I say, like that's my thing. I guess like you probably got with the podcast, it's my thing that I'm like, you know what, I just love doing it. So even if like it's a few bits of work a year or whatever, and the odd thing comes in, like I just every time I get something, it feels like a dream. So.
Class. How do you manage that time? Do you have to say you've got a production coming up and you know it's going to be a 1 to 4 week stint or whatever, so you know you're going to be on set, on stage, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Are you then having to film 2 or 3 workouts a day and then 2 or 3 recipes a day to give you that content for the days that you can't do it?
Yeah, it does get a bit like that. Or whenever I have any projects on, like even when we were doing the home fitness plan, like that's obviously all like packaged content that we sell for the plan. But I still need to create the content for my page. And same with Natalie, she still needs to create the content for her page. So whenever like you're working on other things, it does get a bit tricky. But yeah, I mean, like I say, like it's not anything I don't really enjoy doing most of the time. So even if like I'm working from early till late, if it doesn't feel, this sounds so wanky, but if it doesn't feel too much like work, it's not as hard to keep doing it, I suppose.
What do you reckon? What's the worst? Have you ever put up something literally like busy today, beans on toast? And just like anything that bad?
You know what? I was looking the other day, but you know what? I did a post that was like, it actually went down really well. It was literally like some banana on toast and some beans on toast, and like the beans spilled onto the banana a bit, and I was like, should I or should I not eat this or something like that?
Yeah.
And it did so well. Everyone's like, oh yeah. But generally, yeah. I mean, if I don't have any good content to put out, I generally just won't put anything out. Because it's not really worth me putting anything out if it's not going to be sort of beneficial to people that follow me. Generally, Although sometimes I thought things were great content, and it turns out that people thought differently. But like I say, it's the same both ways. Sometimes I'll do something and I'm like, I'm not sure about that, and it'll do really well. So yeah.
Fair play to you, mate. Some sort of quick fire questions I want to fire at you. What would be your go-to 3-course meal if you were cooking for your missus?
Good question. Do you know what? Actually, we had a great meal last night. First course would probably be something like a sort of duck and pomegranate salad or something like that, like just like light and fresh.
Yeah.
And then we had steak and chips last night, and it was bloody amazing. That's got some steaks from this butcher in here, which we haven't been to. So nice. And then pudding. My favourites are like crumble with custard or like
classic
apple pie. Your classics. Sticky toffee pudding.
I'm a cheese board. I'm a cheese board. 100%.
Well, then the cheese board comes out.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not a big dessert man. I'd rather you give me like a bar of chocolate or a bit of ice cream. I'd be happy. Like cakes and stuff like that. I'm a big guy, but it just doesn't really do it for me. Like I'd rather a pasty or a sausage roll or something like that.
I love a pasty. I absolutely love a pasty. Yeah,
Scotch egg,
like that. A bit of Tabasco and some mustard. Ooh.
Oh, I've not done that. Oh, that's
yeah,
I'll try that.
That's your life changed,
mate. I'll try that. I'll go shopping tomorrow, pal. That'll be straight on the list.
I'm looking forward to that story.
Class. I think steak for me. Although I think a good roast dinner. I absolutely fucking bum a good roast dinner. Not one of these watery ones you see on Instagram or Snapchat with like watery gravy and peas everywhere. Oh fuck it, I hate shit like that when you see it.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, how am I not wifed up yet? And you're like, have you seen the state of that dinner?
Yeah, you just prove I got not wifed up yet.
Yeah, that is absolutely buzzing. That's why.
Yeah, I love a good roast. That's a good one.
Yeah, roast dinner for me. What's your favourite takeaway, pal? If ever you do get one.
Pizza probably. Actually, pizza or curry. Do you know what? It's funny. I love curry. Curry's like Indian curry is probably my favorite. But I love eating it in. I don't really like taking it away as much. I don't know why. Yeah. I think because I like having a big cobra.
Yeah.
At the curry house with my curry, or 3, or however many. But yeah, I don't know, something about it. I just love eating curry in a curry house. Whereas pizza, I can take it or leave it where I eat it. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I'd probably go Indian. Although if I've had a good week in terms of training and eating well, and I want something bad, Chinese every now and again as well. Just not too much. Mind
Chinese.
It's too greasy sometimes.
It's just the grease gets me. Yeah, I don't like things that are too greasy. I'll have a little bit and then be like, horrible.
Feel
now.
minging the next day.
Yeah.
What's your sort of go-to restaurants or types of restaurants? Obviously, curry house. Any other in particulars that you'll go to?
I mean, I'm pretty basic like that. I love a Nando's. Absolutely love a Nando's. I like going out for like burgers.
Yeah,
burgers. But they're both another two things. They don't take away well. I like Nando's at Nando's. Yeah. I like burgers at Burger Place, but delivery burgers for me, no.
Might as well make your own.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And you can make yourself a really nice burger, especially with like the kit that restaurants are doing these days.
It baffles me, right? How obviously we're still in the midst of lockdown. I'm in Cardiff, so we're still a bit behind at the moment. But the queues for McDonald's and no, I'm English, so it's all right. The queues for like McDonald's and stuff like that, and I'm like, you could make so much food at home for the same price, and it's better and tastes nicer. Like I just don't understand it.
Yeah, same
it baffles me, mate. Would you cat or dog? Which one?
Oh, probably dog these days. But I would have said cat before. I had a cat called Humphrey that I grew up with, and he really did it for me. But since then, I've not really come across many cats that have lived up to that reputation. So now, like, obviously, I'm living with Nassie at the moment. Her little dog, Lopsy, who you probably just heard bark.
Yeah.
And she's just lying on the floor behind me, as she always seems to be doing. And then I've got a couple of dogs at my mum's. So yeah, dogs have probably taken it now. What about you? Cats or dogs?
Neither, to be honest, pal. I'm not a pets person.
I'll ask that question.
I'm not a pets person.
Me? No, I don't want either.
Neither. My missus is busting for a dog, but
Oh, really? I bet if you got one, you'd become a pet person.
she sent me a video earlier from some TikTok, and to be fair, it was a cute dog, but I'm going to try and hold out for a little bit longer. I've got a little girl, and that'll do for now. Who biggest influences?
Biggest influences on my life?
Well, your life, the page, obviously, as you were starting out, who is some of your influences?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my life, probably my parents, really. Yeah, I mean, they both have always done things they really wanted to do, which has sort of made it never seem like it was extraordinary to do something that I just really wanted to do, and not really think about the sort of longevity of my career and things like that. And then page-wise, Joe Wicks, big influence for definite. Mob Kitchen, Ben, Miguel, £1 Meals. Annie, obviously, like I said earlier, who started off with Breakfast Brunch, but now is Annie Openshaw, and Elliot. They've both just done incredibly well, and like they sort of inspire me to keep going with it. Really, they're probably the ones.
Is there any you get like speak to rugby players, and is there any sort of like niggle between players in certain positions and all that stuff? Is there any ever niggle in your industry between different sort of influencers and pages, or is it pretty help each other out?
It's interesting that it depends on the individual. I think it's funny because most people will be like, yeah, let's do something together, blah blah blah. Some people are quite protective and defensive about the work that's gone into their page. It's funny because I think people that get defensive and protective about the work that's gone into their page kind of forget that everyone else is doing the same thing. Like everyone else is also working really hard trying to build their page. And there's a couple of sort of people that I'm chatting to do maybe like a live cook along with and stuff. But it's easy to forget that the more success you get with it, and the more you grow, the less time you have. So like suddenly it's like, can I do a live workout for a couple of hours this week with someone, or a live cook along? Like, just don't have time, because if I do, then that means I don't have any me time, which is also important. So it is quite a tricky balance, and you get a lot of people, just general people, asking for advice, and I always try and reply to those. Because like if they've taken the time to message me, then I can take the time to message back. Is the way I see it. So but it depends on the individual.
Yeah, definitely. Who's one thing I always wondered when I was looking at the page, how long does it take you to work out exactly what each portion costs and each meal costs? Because obviously they're very different prices. Did you have a list, like a basic list of 50 grams of carrots is this and
costs this much? Do you know what, annoyingly, so there was a website called mysupermarket.com, which is it's gone now. I don't know what happened to it. And I remember I was doing a recipe, and I was like, done My Supermarket, and it was like, sorry, due to unforeseen circumstances, we've had to close down. And I was literally like, what do you mean, what am I going to do? And then I realised you could just do the same on normal supermarkets. But to be honest, mate, like I know the price per weight of most things in the supermarket. It's really sad, but like you could ask me how much 50 ml of olive oil costs, and I'll tell you it costs 6p normally. Like most things I'll know. I'm looking for a pub quiz if they ever had a round on it, but otherwise it's not really that useful.
That's brilliant. And would you always go with sort of like supermarket's own, or frozen or fresh, or
mostly frozen, because I normally cook with frozen. And in terms of like nutrition, actually, frozen food is normally picked and frozen immediately, so it doesn't have any time to decompose. I say decompose, I'm not saying that food is decomposed, but it doesn't have any time to start breaking down. So it's actually probably still packs more nutrition than if you're eating it fresh. But there's a bit of debate about that, so I won't wait into that. So frozen, and it's cheaper, so it makes sense to me if my argument's right. Frozen. Normally, I suppose normally I do use supermarket's own. The thing is, supermarket's own has become like, you get supermarket's own toasted sesame oil now. You get supermarket's own avocado oil. Like, it's not like it used to be like supermarket's own's a bit, but they do everything. Normally, supermarket's own.
They do a lot of brand, your market price at Morrison's and all that sort of stuff. A lot of
Yeah,
branding.
yeah, and I mean, I will do stuff. There's brands that I like love using that I use all the time, and they're significant. Like I mentioned Branston beans earlier. Like Branston beans are significantly better than Tesco beans. So like I would never really use Tesco beans.
Yeah.
But a lot of stuff is just I don't think you can really pick between it. Apart from one's got good TV ad and the other one doesn't.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, mate. What would be your go-to gym exercise if you could only do one? And then what would you tell someone they should do if they could only do one?
Burpees, 100%. If you could only ever do one, burpees. Yeah, they're horrible,
Vile,
but
mate.
they work every little bit of your body. So.
Absolutely vile.
Yeah,
I hate shit.
I don't mind them anymore.
Oh, honestly, like
yeah. Although if you'd asked me at uni, it probably would have been bench or maybe squats or like something like that. But now I just do everything body weight. So burpees. You could do 1,000 burpees a day and you'd be in terrific nick.
Oh, mate, not a chance. More chance of me having a six-pack than actually doing 1,000 burpees, let me tell you. Where can people find all of your stuff then, all of your website and your pages?
Yeah, so Rob_Eades, Eades is my Instagram. The Home Fitness Plan is our Instagram, and thehomefitnessplan.com. That's about it, really. Yeah.
Home Fitness. I'm gonna have a little ganders at this after now.
Yeah, have a look. Sign up. Get a free taster workout.
Well, I don't know if I'm ready for that, mate. We'll tag all the socials on the podcast when it goes live.
Thank you very much.
Look, I really appreciate you coming on, pal.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Really enjoyed that.
I'll let you know. Was it the Scotch egg with the mustard and Tabasco? Was it
Scotch egg, mustard, and Tabasco? I bet I'm going to get one in a minute.
Was it like a fresh market one or one from the supermarket?
I mean, fresh market is definitely better, 100%. But beggars can't be choosers.
I'll have a look now. I'll see where I go tomorrow to get some food. Hey, look, I really appreciate you coming on. All right, and
lovely stuff. Cheers, mate.
Take care, and hopefully we'll catch up again. Soon. All right.
100%. Chat soon. Cheers,
Take care, mate. Ciao, buddy. Bye.